Okay, I wanted to first, for this project today, I'm going to be doing a really cool link that I love, and it looks just so worn and organic. You can make this as big and as small as you want. And the cool thing is, I want to do this today with bronze, and there is no soldering in here. So I just have my little bit of my cold join tools here and ready for us. So here's a couple of the tools that we're going to need. I have a vise that I have here that I'm going to show you why I have the vise. A hammer, a really nice forging hammer. I have another video in here that talks about forging, but I want to show you some pretty cool forging and really building your, taking round wire and hammering it flat and being able to use this in links. And just really with this technique here, I will take this technique and move it into all different directions. In fact, I have the expanded version inside my membership that is just all different variations of this type of technique here. So with this is like the foundation and the springboard of creating links and then moving out from there. So in here, I'm gonna be working with a 14 gauge bronze wire. So I love bronze wire. Bronze wire is so beautiful to work with. It's more like copper where, it just is buttery to work with. And then I have a 20 gauge bronze again that I'm going to draw a bead on. And I'm going to show you how to draw a bead on here. Working with brass is something different. Brass material has alloys in there that don't draw a bead, and it just is a lot of different work. So I'll show you in the end with this technique. It's using a hot torch, but it's not soldering. So another thing that I need, I have my drill. You could use a hand drill, electric drill, and this is either a 1/16 bit or it is called 52 if you're going to get it from the jeweler store. I have got I love using these. These are Euro tool, and they actually are for punching holes, but I just use these to make a little mark in my pieces. I need some really good wire snips for cutting my bronze. These are nice dirty ones and worked in. And then I'm going to use like a bigger pair of needle nose, round, to really make the link forms. Here's a couple things that I formed ahead of time. I'll put them in my hand, and you guys will get to see a close-up. And let's see, you'll see me use a little bit of some flux later on, but we don't need it now. I'm going to show you a little bit of forging. But here's the way I'm going to set this up. This is actually a wooden mandrel. I'm good. There's a wooden mandrel, and I'm going to set this inside, right in the center. I'm going to set this inside my vise and just tighten it up. So I'll be using this end of my vise right here. And then, if I want to use a bigger one, I'm really going to be working a lot smaller, but certainly I've been able to use this piece before. Okay. Oop, pulled it right out of here. Okay, get it nice and secure in here, and then I can drill right into this area here. I do have some lube for my drill bit because that's what I'm going to need to keep my drill bit nice and smooth and lubed up, so I can get right through this really thin gauge links that I'm building for you. Okay, I'm going to start by getting my wire cut. Come on in. I am going to show you, this is my bronze wire, 14 gauge. I have some really heavy duty pliers here, and I want to make sure that I have the this back side, not the front side, the back side. These are double flush cutters. Actually, I want to put it this way, double flush cutters. And by facing my pliers to the back side, this is where I'll get a tabletop cut. So I want a nice tabletop. As you guys can see, this piece is cut here. So I'm going to take about 2 inches of wire. Certainly, like I was talking about, you can do tiny. I love doing tiny, or you can do 3 inches. Really, once you see this work, you'll be able to decide how big you want your piece to be. Now, you don't want to squeeze with your wrist because that's how you get, that's how you get carpal tunnel. So what I do, I lean my pliers against the wood. I hold on to the end, and I really just lean into my piece like that and get it cut. I have a nice tabletop cut, about 2 inches, and then I'm just going to keep going and cutting about 10 of them. and so on. So once you have your good little stack of pieces, I'm going to flatten these all out. What I'm doing is I'm forging them. You can see what the end result looks like, and this is the beginning. People ask me how much will my piece expand and grow. With forging, they'll get bigger and longer. You know, this is the 14 gauge, and what I'm doing is I'm hammering it flat to spread out like a tabletop. You know, when you're working with wire, there's only two different ways to work with metal. One of them is sheet metal, one of them is wire. Every single thing that we work with can be reduced to wire or sheet metal. So what I'm just doing is I'm taking this round wire and I'm really creating a very skinny sheet metal with it by creating a flat surface. So that's what I'm doing here. So you can see I got, you know, from about 2 inches of round wire, I ended up getting about 2.5 inches, you know, of hammered out. So depending on how you work your wire is what you get. So I'm going to show you, these I just did so I won't have to sit and hammer these out forever. But I'm going to bring over about 3 of them and I'm going to show you my whole process. So I have got this beautiful hammer right here. This one is you want the end of it a little bit round like this. You know, I've got my rounded edge here. And that's what you want for a forging hammer. Now the first time in, I'm just going to keep one piece out at a time. The first time in, when I go in to hit this with the hammer, you can see how I work this. Wherever my hammer goes is where the metal is going to spread. I just cut this right from my spool, so it's not all the way annealed, but I always start off this way just by taking it. I go in 2 times with my pieces. So this is the first time. The first time in, the hammering is the loudest, so you're gonna hear it louder. So I'm just gonna spread and move the first time in, forging my piece. The second time in, I'm going to actually refine, and you hear tiny little taps with that. So here we go. I'm gonna start off here, right here, and I'm going to hold this right on the edge, and I'm just going to get in and kind of work my edge around. You can see how I'm just making, you know, just a complete paddle shape. And then I like my ends a little bit more worked, and then I'm going to bring it through the center, come around to the other side, and just give myself you can see how I'm moving my hammer around. Now I'm not squeezing my wrist at all, because when you start squeezing your wrist is what, you know, I'm holding it lightly. You can't see white on your hands. You don't want to start hurting your wrist. I'm just very gently letting the hammer do the work. There, that piece is done. Here's where it started from, and this is just the first time in. So I'm going to do 2 of them the first time in. Here's the second one. This one is a little bit smaller. Okay, this piece, I wanted to show you this piece because I didn't have a flat tabletop edge, I've got a point there. So it just gives you a little bit more work if you don't make sure you cut it with your double flush pliers and get a flat tabletop edge. I just have a little bit more filing, but for me it's like what I do is I get up onto my ring, get up on and just, you know, onto my jeweler's wheel, and I just buzz off the ends of these points. So these have a little bit more work to do. I'm going to spread them out a little bit more, but first I'm going to anneal.
And go.
Okay, so here's the 2 pieces right here, and this is how you anneal if you don't know. I'm actually using a Benzomatic torch. Getting it nice and hot. I didn't put any treatment on these. I'm going to bring them up to a nice red glow. There you go. And that anneals them, which means annealing is making your metal as soft as butter. The cool thing about bronze is when you quench it, all the fire scale just pops right off of it. Isn't that cool? So now I'm going in for a second round over here by the anvil. So let's head over. These are my two pieces. They're annealed, which means brought up nice and soft like butter. And here's what I'm doing next is now I'm going to very carefully, you're not going to hear such a loud hammer because I'm very carefully spreading these. So you can watch the way my hammer moves. And I really like this kind of this hourglass shape where the top is fuller and then it tapers down to thinner in the center. You don't need everything one big flat shape. There we go. And then sometimes I'll hit that middle part, but this one's good. I'm just going to file up the sides a little bit. I haven't filed them yet. This next one. There we go. Now I have to tell you, if you start seeing your piece, we just were seeing that piece go in a curve where it was curving off to one side. I want to say you have a tendency to want to, hammer right onto that. But if you just spread where the negative space is, like for instance, let's see. Let me see. I know one of the, okay, this piece right here, how it's a little bit curving off to the right. You know, you don't want to hammer it on the left. You want to hammer right beneath it. It's right here is what is making this curve off to the right. So I'm going to get in right here. There we go. Now it's perfectly straight up and down. Looks a lot better. You know, it's just really hitting these spots that you don't think about. So you can see how easy bronze is to work with. Oh my gosh, it's actually even not, it's copper is really nice to work with, and it's easier than sterling silver. Okay, I'm going to go get these polished up, and I'll show you the rest. Okay, here's the pieces. I started creating some circles because this is really all your chain link is about, is all these really beautiful little circles. So I'm going to take all these pieces that I made. Remember, I annealed them the second time, so I can come in and really get some beautiful shapes here. So I'm just going to take this back here and I get it started. It's like butter, I'm telling you. Bronze is an easy, easy piece. So I can get it going and bring it around, and then maybe what I'm going to do is also get it started on this side. So I just kind of use this piece as a starter piece here. So now I've got a little circle going like this, and I'm going to come in. Make sure my ends are put together beautifully. Bring it around. You could bring it around as long or as short as you want. There we go. So look at this beautiful little shape. I have a tendency to not want to do, perfectly round pieces. Now I'm going to take this tool that I talked about earlier that just kind of leaves a punch mark, because what this will do is it just will give me a small little, I want to make sure this is aligned here. My metal's aligned so I can hit both ends of it. I'm just going to make a little mark right here. Just a little mark. See that? A little divot. Oh, let me make a little. Right in the center. And then I'm going to bring it, see that little divot right there? I'm going to bring it back onto this piece here, if I can, which, yes, this one fits, so I'm good. And then because of this, I can really just put my drill right into here. So I'm using, you always have to drill on wood and hammer on an anvil. So it's like you just always make lib all different types of drills and anvils. Okay, so I make sure this is a real precarious little corner here. So hang on a second. Put this on the side, put this over here. Okay, so this is a little precarious corner. Let me get a piece of wood. also for later. So I'm just going to stand here, right on here, and I hold this like this. I know it's kind of a little crazy area, but I'm going to have to put my finger here too. But this actually, I'm holding on the sides. I don't want to get right in the center. And I just let the drill do the work. And remember, I have a bigger drill bit. I know it seems crazy to have a bigger drill bit like this, but it's kind of nice. I use a new one. I go in slow. For me, it's like I just kind of wiggle my drill bit around a little just to get inside the center area. And there we go, I'm through. So there's a beautiful hole right here. Let me get a couple of these. So then what I'll do is I'm going to link them up. So I have another one that's created here. I'm just going to bring it through and link these two up. Or you could build a couple of them and link them up in the end, but that's how we're going to get these linked. Okay, so I'm just starting to link. It's going to look good. So this one now needs to be punched. I need to make sure that the areas are both straight, that it's lined up, because I'm drilling through two at the same time. I want to make sure it's in the center. You know, it's really important to make this mark here because, and you could make the mark with, you know, a center punch on maybe a metal anvil, but this is important. This is going to help you to not slide all over the place when you get into your anvil here. You know, if I don't have a dowel rod, this was a little bit big. So things you can do is like just pick up different scraps, different pieces. This one actually falls apart, so I don't really think I can use it. So I'm going to actually use this as part of my drill. It's just you have to make sure that you can get into the area that you need. So this is also another way you can use. You know, another idea is to just bring in sticks. I get sticks from the beach normally. I just cleaned out my studio, so I don't have a lot of sticks right now, but I'll just drill into sticks many times. I just lubed it up again, and I'm going to come in from here, and I'm going to very gently, you just want to make sure that it's a tight fit and you have a good support system when you're drilling. And you want to go in slow. And you can see, like, you're probably wondering, why am I doing such large holes? But it actually makes it so much easier in the end. Okay, so now let me show you the whole completion project. I'm just doing it with two, and then I'm just going to finish working on mine, but you guys can see the whole idea. I am going to draw a bead. So this is pretty cool. I want to show you my materials that I'm going to work with. I have a little bit of flux in here. And this is that 20 gauge bronze. Let me just cut off a piece like this. And I like to have more than enough, and I'm going to draw a bead on there. So I'm just going to use, you could use whatever torch you have. It's easier. This is a map gas with my Benzomatic, so I'm going to get this lit. And now I'm going to come in. You have to get in there really hot. It has to be fluxed. Voila. So you can do another one closer up if you want. But this one, hold on. Okay. Here's the two pieces that have the holes drilled in them. And I've got where I've drawn a bead on here. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to slip this in as part of the process, right inside. Voila, see this inside here? This is actually going to hold it all shut, and this is called, I call it, attaching by drawing a bead. And I have a whole chapter on making connections that really is all about how to attach. There's, it's just a cool attachment. Okay, and then I'm going to cut it with just a little bit left, like this. See that? I won't always go the wrong way. Okay. So now I'm going to come on the inside of here. There we go. See that? I'm going to put this, get a little bit of flux on here. You always want to, especially with bronze, when you're drawing a bead, you want to make sure you draw a bead with flux on there. So here's the other one down here. I'm not letting it get in my way, so I'm just going to get my torch lit. And I'm going to come in this way. See how that just drew up? Voila, that's all you need. You have to get in and out super quick. Okay, now we're gonna do, so now we'll start all over from here. Show you guys the next one. And you just do this all the way down the road, but it's really cool. I'm gonna show you drawing a bead. And with bronze, you just want to let it sit there for a little bit till it cools. Don't quench it right away. And then I'll put in the flux. Just because, you know, it's a little bit more fragile than drawing a bead with sterling silver, but it can be done. Isn't that cool? You cannot do it with brass, but you can do it with bronze. So I'm going to do one more drawing a bead. You guys will get to watch it for this last one. Okay. Just because look where I'm putting my pliers. I want to see how they got all dirty from this type of work. But you know, I'm coming in and I am, you know, it's not touching the bottom. You want to keep it from touching the bottom. It has to be loose on its own. And here we go. Oops. Let's see. There we go. If I wanted a little bit more. If I start seeing my piece heat up like that, it's so you can see it's better just to go in for as high as it needs to go from the beginning. Like this one, I probably would have held it just a second longer. But you can see if you hold it too long, the whole piece will turn red. So you have to get in and get out. I know it looks like a nice, easy technique, but really the secret with bronze and with drawing a bead and with hammering is to get in and out as quickly as you can. Now I'm going to finish this whole process to make a whole bracelet. You can make a necklace with it. These are so great for attaching things or just nice and chunky for a necklace, but it's a really cool bracelet. Okay. I want to show you a little different technique with this one. So this is with two. So remember, I'm putting the two together. So I'm going to come from the inside. I want to show you, I'm going to actually, instead of drawing a bead on the end, I want to make it nice and flat. So let me get in through the center. Voila. See how this one's going to go? So I want to show you, let me look at the side where, here, right here is where I can hold it together. And I'm going to actually trim this down, and then I'm going to show you making a flat nail head, and I'll do it on the other side. So this one definitely you can do a flat nail head with, and I'll show you how to do that. Sometimes you just don't want, you just have to make sure you have both pieces secure. So I'm going to go right on the end. I'm going to, remember we have to flux bronze, so bronze has to be fluxed, and I'm going to stay right here, get the torch going. And what I did, I plunged it down, so now I can have a really beautiful flat head on here. So that's what you do sometimes. You get a nice flat head. Okay, so this side is secure. Now you still want, I have a little bit more in the center though, so maybe I'll go back in. Oops, I do have a little bit too much there. So I'm gonna go back in, hit it again, draw a bead on the inside. Did you see how much easier, I wanted to show you also, did you see how much easier it is to draw a bead, how much more heat is created on the inside rather than the outside? So let's get in. There we go, and it's done. So that's how much more heat is created on the outside. Now, when we get to this other piece, the other side looks a little dirty, but it's looking good. When we get to this side, I'm going to drill through everything. This one's kind of thin, so here's where I have to make sure that I have got a really centered punch in the center. And so I need to drill through, oh, you know where I need to go? I need to close up this side right here. I need to close up this side, because that's on the inside where the two ends are meeting, right here. Okay. So I need to come in. Sometimes what I'll even do, I can see where my top pieces meet. Get that nice and centered. And then I should be able to get right down. So everything has to be centered. Okay. Get my leather on. This leather's a good one. So once I can clear this top piece, once I can clear this skinny top piece here, there's really thick pieces underneath that'll be ready to go. So let me get them all lined up. Everybody will be closed up after this. So I just have to be strategic with my drill. It's all about strategy with your drill. And I'm going to give myself, make sure it's lubed up. And here we go. Okay, wait. Okay. Okay, now I want to show you how to make a nail head with bronze wire. This is a, to start off, I showed you guys that way, but from scratch. So this is a 20 gauge that we're using. It's bronze wire. Bronze wire you have to be very careful with. So when I do draw a bead on here and make a nail head, making a nail head, you have to be so quick. So I actually need a super straight up and down wire. So see, I actually bent it back. It was curved, and I bent it back into place. And I just have to be really quick. I'm going to aim it down here, and at the same time, I plunge and I pull the fire away. And then I just let it sit there for a little bit. So let me show you that technique right now. So I brought it into a bead, and then I plunged it down. You can see how there's a nail head. I just have to let it rest, and then when I pull it up, it stays, and I'm going to put it right into here. But I have a beautiful little nail head. You can make them as big, which is flat. I love using nail heads in my work because, for one, it's not going to interrupt the outside of a piece, you know, if you don't want the balls on the end. But for two, you can solder. You know, a lot of times I use it in my work to solder onto. Okay, so if I do want a nail head on the outside, I showed you guys. So I'm putting this through the next piece, so it's wired through. There's a nail head in there. If I was doing a whole bracelet or a ring, this would allow, you know, not a lot of space of the ball in the center. So that's why this works well. So I'm going to actually cut this side out. And now we can't work in the center. We cannot work in the center because I am going to do a nail head. And you can't do a nail head when in the center. So this is how to do something on the outside. This will be a lot smoother because everything is now held together. So see, you just need to hold it straight up and down, and then I'm going to plunge. Let's get started. Okay, I plunged it, whoop, plunged it, one and done. There you go. Okay, so here's your nail head on the outside. Here it is on the inside, so you have a lot more room for yourself. Now, this is how you're combining two pieces together. And this can go, I'm going to pickle it, it's going to look beautiful. The thing with bronze is it looks really crusty when all that copper comes up to the surface. So, you know, you work on these pieces here, this is bronze, but when it is finished, it is just beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and pickle this, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Pickle it and liver sulfur. now for the last step. This actually needs to be the closure that gets attached. It's the same piece that we hammered out earlier. So I am going to take, they both have flat ends on them. I'm going to take one of these about right here. And you could have a long handle, but you don't want a long top on here. So I'm just going to take it and fold it forward. And again, working with bronze is like butter, but it's a little bit stronger than working with silver. So let the table, let your tools do the work. One of the most important things to do is to just bend it, tip it forward a tiny bit, and I'll show you from the side. See how that's tipped? And then this end, literally, I'm just going to move it out a little bit. So now it looks like this. And I'm going to actually create the roll because metal has memory. So I'm going to create this roll, and I can decide, I'm going to do it on the bigger part. I'm going to do it on the bigger part here. So I'm just rolling it forward. I'm letting my tools do the work. You can roll it forward to make it as short as you want because remember, this creates space. You know, if you keep this end long, which, you know, you could use space. You could use more space to go around the width of your wrist, or you might want it short. So once I have this set up, I'm going to open up my end. I'm going to slip it right onto my last piece. And because of this roll, it actually is strong enough cold join fold that it's not going to come apart because it's a 14 gauge. And then you have a piece that looks like this. So now that everything, and here's how it'll close up, and you can actually push this in as close you want to, as far as you want to, but it really looks good because I'm using the same type of metal for my closure. You know, it's not going to be so bright and stand out. I'm using the same type of closure. You know, it doesn't have the drawing a bead on there, but if you want to put it on there, you're welcome to. You can see the color of bronze, and believe me, this is going to be so beautiful. So I'm going to go put this in the pickle, and I'm going to actually clean it up with the wire brush. You know, I'm going to spend a lot of time with the wire brush really working this in, and then I'm going to actually put in liver sulfur and clean it up on my jeweler's wheel. And this piece, it will be beautiful as its own, as a bracelet, or you can use this just as the backbone to put a bunch of charms onto. Up to you. So I have with me, I want to show you twisted wire. Somebody had requested twisted wire. If you guys have any requests, let me know. But here's the thing is that I'm going to twist This is a 20 gauge, and I thought this would be really nice, but I'm also gonna twist a bronze wire because I see so many people are interested in the bronze. So what I'm gonna need here is a big piece of my 20 gauge, I need my drill, and I need a pick. And I'm gonna get this twisted, it's gonna look really good. So I take a pretty good size piece. You can get so many people ask me also, where does the bronze come from? I actually got my bronze from Parawire. I have so much bronze because I used to actually sell it at retail price years ago. Okay, also your snips to cut. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut. Put this aside. Now, when I twist wire, it's always good to have dead soft, but when I twist wire, what I do is I will just set it up, and I kind of just twist the end a little bit here because that helps it just helps to hold the wire, to have one piece coming from one piece. And then I'm gonna it's always important to flux, grab my flux, always important to flux when you're working with bronze, because bronze is a little difficult to work with, but this is the only yellow besides gold that you'll be able to draw a bead on, pull. It's softer, it's beautiful. So I'm gonna go ahead and light this and draw a bead, little bead just to hold it together. There you go. Just that little, because and then remember, never plunge it quickly, but this just really kind of holds it together to one piece so it can fit inside my drill and I'm not struggling with two separate pieces. Okay, so I'm gonna put this inside my drill and get to the end of this, close it up. This is my secondary drill. I'm learning to work with it. I usually just have this drill out for my students. Okay, has to be nice and tight, everything nice and tight, and I'm folding it together. You stay far away from the pedal when you're working with this. This is a pedal, so I'm gonna step on it like a sewing machine. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm using my soldering pick because I can put this right into the end of here. Like this, I can't. I have to hold the whole thing. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I have one end, I'm holding it completely straight, side by side, so you guys can see everything. And you want to step on your pedal and twist it as gently as possible, because once it starts rocking back and forth, you're in trouble. So if I start going fast, you can see getting twisted, very gentle. If it starts whipping around, just stop it. You can change the side, you can change your twist. I could stop it here with a light twist. In fact, if I worked with gold, I might do a light twist. But I'm gonna do a real tight one. It'll look like bead, how the granulation in beads look. There, it's getting nice and tight, a little bit more. Now, when I'm working this nice and tight, you can see how much room I used up. I want to actually lay this down. I'm not going to let go of this end, because what'll happen if I let go, it'll just start gnarling up into a ball. So I'm going to work this off and let it go, and it untwists, get it out of here. But see, I have no problems or worries, because no problems or worries. Get this opened up, and you can see it's so work hardened. So the next thing I want to do is I move it into this type of a shape, because I need to anneal this. Bring this over. I've got my wire like this, so it'll stay down easier. Let me bring my tray over so I can get this annealed. Voila. I don't have to spray it or anything. I'm just going to get on here. See how that's nice and red? You don't want to fuse it. And when I get it hot from this area, I'm going to flip it over so I can get it hot from this area. There we go. And now I'm just going to pickle it. So we'll quench it first. I'm gonna quench it in water, pickle it, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished.